I lost my dad to cancer. And then exactly 10 weeks after he passed away, I was diagnosed. That was really the 1-2 punch that I needed to figure out my nutrition. I thought I was healthy. I thought I was fine. I was thin, very able-bodied, not a care in the world. Well, a care in the world, of course, but didn't, other than, of course, losing my dad, nobody else in my family, me included, we were all fine. So when I got the diagnosis, that really scared me beyond, because I thought, well, wait a minute, am I next?
We're joined today by a cancer survivor turned thriver turned now inspiration to thousands, not just through her shop, the Center for Plant-Based Living, but also now the doc and chef. She is a Food for Life instructor and somebody well steeped in the idea of proper nutrition to keep your cancer risk as low as possible. With that, we welcome a dear friend and the inspirer of thousands, Caryn Dugan. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Chuck. Thanks for having me on.
Hi, Caryn. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So let's dive right into your story, because that is truly kind of the precipice for what brought you to what it is that you're doing today through the Center for Plant-Based Living and, of course, the doc and chef. Not always, as has been kind of the theme throughout these episodes, not always the pillar of health, Caryn. What happened?
No. Way back in 2008, I lost my dad to cancer. And then exactly 10 weeks after he passed away, I was diagnosed. So that was really the 1-2 punch that I needed to figure out my nutrition. I thought I was healthy. I thought I was fine. I was thin, very able-bodied, not a care in the world. Well, a care in the world, of course, but didn't, other than, of course, losing my dad, nobody else in my family, me included, we were all fine. So when I got the diagnosis, that really scared me beyond, because I thought, well, wait a minute, am I next? Right? I mean, that's kind of what you think. And so I thought, well, clearly I'm not healthy. I don't know what to do. And so I started looking at what healthy people were doing, right? So in my mind, that was, the yogi community. Like, okay, I'll try yoga, I guess. That didn't, I like HIIT workouts, high interval, I'm a crazy person. So then I thought, well, what is this, the needles, the acupuncture? I am really scared of needles, but I thought, okay, I'll give acupuncture a try. That was not holding. I'll try meditation. Again, I'm a spaz. That was not a thing. So, I thought, well, I mean, I think I eat all right. I guess I eat all right. I mean, I was the lean cuisine queen, right? I was, anything convenient, but I wasn't like really bad fast food all the time. And not even most of the time. It was just eating for convenience, and lean cuisine sounds like it would be healthy, or things like, just the frozen meals, I should say. And so let me back up a little bit. You know how you hear your entire life, eat your fruits and veggies, eat your greens. Well, when you start to hear the same thing over and over and over again, you become desensitized. So I thought, well, okay, I'll take a look at my diet. I mean, I thought I was healthy. I was fully able-bodied. I didn't have any kind of symptoms. So I didn't understand why it could have been my diet, but I looked at it and I went to Dr. Google, as we do. And I typed in anti-cancer foods. I didn't know what I was doing. Immune boosting foods, immune boosting activity. Like I was so in a state of fear, confusion, anger that I didn't know how to hopefully not get cancer again. Or heck, if we're going to not get cancer, let's not get anything, right? So the results that kept generating were a vegan diet. Now, some background. I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri, in the middle of the country, a pretty conservative town in 2008. So when you talk about vegan in St. Louis in 2008, or anywhere in the middle of the country, that has kind of a cult connotation, really. I mean, and I was not interested in that. I didn't want to be a vegan, okay? I didn't want the cult. I didn't want people to look at me like I was in a cult. So I thought, well, no, that's not going to work. And by the way, don't take my chicken away from me, So I kept searching and searching and searching. And all the results had some kind of vegan diet or veganism result. And I thought, well, I don't really want to do that. And so, by the way, I'm still looking for that paper or that study that says, plants aren't going to save you. So I thought, fine. In one fell swoop, I took everything out of my kitchen that had anything to do with animal products. All the chicken, all of the frozen products, all of the crackers that had whey, so any kind of dairy in them. and I got rid of them because I thought, if I'm going to try this vegan diet thing, I'm going to do it for just like, I don't know, a week or two or whatever, just to check off a box, say that I did it. And I did it. And now also during this time, I had just lost my dad. I was getting over having a tumor taken out of my arm. I was newly-ish married. My husband and I were totally rehabbing a house in the city of St. Louis. And I mean, like, pulling down the walls, living in this rehab, right? I had a full-time job in the Western medical community, actually. And, lives were crazy. So what we would do is we would get up in the morning, go to our separate gyms, come home, take our showers, get ready, go to work, come home, put on gross clothes, and start pulling down walls and plastering and papering and doing whatever. Okay. So life was absolutely crazy. Now, when I decided to go vegan back in 2008, again, just as like a stint, I went to the grocery store. And because I was reading Eat the Rainbow, because the different colors represent different nutrients, and you want to get a spectrum of nutrients to help support a good immune system. So I went to the grocery store and I go into the produce section, which I really never spent a whole lot of time in. And I was putting purple things in my cart and blue things and red things and orange things and yellow things and white things and whatever. So I'm going around and I hear there's this thing called fiber that's good for you. So I go down the bean aisle, right? And apparently, okay, beans are good for you. So I'm throwing in some beans, some canned tomatoes, that kind of thing. And I go over to the bakery. And I had graduated, by the way, from the white bread to the brown bread, which we know doesn't really matter anymore. But I thought, now they want me to buy the bread that's like 5 pounds. It's like a doorstop. It has all kinds of stuff in it, seeds and nuts and whatever. It's granola hippie stuff. All right, so I heave that into the cart. And I thought, I get home and I thought, well, wait a minute. There's no labels on some of these foods. I don't know how to put these in the microwave. What the hell do I do with these? So back to Google and I start, vegan, plant-based, actually I shouldn't say plant-based, vegan 101 recipes. We didn't say plant-based back in 2008. So I thought, oh God, I don't know what to do here. I didn't even really have a kitchen. So one night after Tim, my husband, Tim and I had been working on the house, we're both covered in plaster. We look gross. There's this one couch in this one odd room with this gross TV that we would retire to at the end of the night. The news comes on at 10 o'clock here in St. Louis. So we would finish working at 9:45 and I would make dinner. And then we would eat in front of the TV, watching the news, and then go to bed. So after doing this for a few weeks, I put together some beans and, I don't know, vegetables or what, who knows? I'm just assembling food. Then I give Tim his food, his dinner, and he's looking up at me, covered with plaster on this gross couch. And he looks up at me and it's just, the tension is thick because, again, like, I'm just trying to be a good wife to my husband, a good sister to my brother, a good daughter to my mom, trying to make sense of life. And it's just, everything is just so so to the max, right? And he looks up at me and he says, Caryn, I know what you're doing here. I get it. This makes sense. This fruits and vegetables and trying to boost your immune system. But oh my God, this food, you're going to kill us both. And it was just like this release of, oh my God, you're right. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This is so bad, but it makes sense. But I don't know how to do it, So we put hot sauce on it and ate it and went to bed. So the next day, unbeknownst to me, Tim goes into the office and starts looking for vegan cooking classes. Now, remember, this was just a stint, right? Like, I don't have any interest in a vegan diet or lifestyle. I don't have time for it. I don't have a kitchen. Like, no. So we go to a class. He finds a vegan cooking class at Whole Foods here in St. Louis. And we go, and it's a sold out class. And we're sitting around this long table, and the instructor is making this beautiful food, very simple food, just out of like 4 or 5 ingredients, right? And she's, serving it up to us, talking to us the whole time. And the food's actually like really delicious. And I thought, well, I could do this, And she saw that I was really excited about this. And she called me after class and asked me to be her assistant. I could not have asked for a bigger gift. And there was only 2 Whole Foods here at the time, and she was teaching 1 time a month at each. So she asked me to be her assistant. I accepted. And then I was just her pack mule twice a month, bringing in all the, the equipment and whatever food Whole Foods didn't have, and giving out the recipes to people, doing the dishes, and just learning. And about 2.5 years into this, so we're in 2011 now, she moved to Tennessee. Her husband was transferred. And I said goodbye to Whole Foods. And they said, where are you going? And I said, well, unless you have somebody else for me to assist, thank you very much. This has been great. And they said, no. This, I think we we're probably saying plant-based by that time. This whole plant-based vegan, movement is really becoming popular, and all your classes are sold out. I think, we think that we'd like you to teach. And I said, listen, I have never taught anybody anything. I don't have any interest in that. I have a career. No, thank you. I'm sure there's somebody else. And they said, okay, here's the application. And I thought, God, there's no way. So I go home and I told my husband, I told Tim, I said, get a load of this. And he said, oh my gosh, you have to do this. You come home and you're glowing, and it's just twice a month that you're doing this. And I said, Tim, no, have we met? I do not teach. He said, come on, let's sit down and let's fill this out. It was a very simple, one-page application. And right in the middle, it said business name. And I said, see, Tim, I don't have a business. This is not for me. I cannot do this. And he said, figure it out. So in 2009, I started a Twitter account called STL Veg Girl, STL for St. Louis. And the only reason I started it was so that I could stalk other people and see what this whole vegan, thing was all about, and just get recipes and stuff like that. So I put STL Veg Girl as the name of the company. And that's how my first company was born, STL Veg Girl. I started teaching, and I can remember, Chuck, you want to talk about imposter syndrome right here. Oh my gosh. I thought, I was so sweaty, getting goosebumps right now because it was so bad. I taught my first class and I thought, no. If people are going to come here and spend their time and money with me in hopes to really learn something, I've got to be better than this. So during my whole time I was still on a vegan diet, I started looking into the research. I thought it was fascinating. And I was always coming back to PCRM because I really enjoyed the way that the website was laid out. It was very easy to understand, and the information was easy to understand. So I always kept going back to PCRM. I thought there's got to be some kind of training out there that will help me help other people. And I remember that PCRM had a Food for Life program. So I looked into it. I applied. It was very hard to get into, but I was accepted. And right after I came home from that 4-day training, which was super intense, the cancer support community here in St. Louis, their executive director called me and said, hi, Caryn, this is who I am. I know the training you just went through, and I'd like you to please start teaching cooking classes here at the cancer support community, because I think you can really help our survivors and people who are going through treatment. And what a moment. That was 2011. And to this day, I am still teaching at the cancer support community. And it's a real, real gift to do it.
That is a heck of a journey you just took us on. Man alive, said that's almost 12 years in a nutshell. Golly. I want to go back, though, to the cancer part in your family. I feel like one of the things that I identify most with your story, or the part of your story that touches me the most, is the fact that you really had just lost your own father, to cancer. And then here we are, you get the diagnosis right on the heels of that. That's enough to make anybody's head spin. I don't know that the average person who's watching this is ever going to be able to comprehend what's that like. Just on the emotional part of it, what was that time in your life like when you received that diagnosis right on the heels of losing your father?
I couldn't believe it. It was like I was not in my own body. Some context. My dad had prostate cancer. And it went to his bones, up his spine, and then to his brain. And I, along with my brother, my only sibling, and my mom, we all held him as he passed away. I knew for some reason that was a gift, and I wasn't sure why. And I'm really still not quite sure why, but I always thought that it was. And then trying to deal with that for several weeks, and then getting that diagnosis myself. Cancer, obviously not prostate cancer. That's a different show. Chuck, it's just, and I can remember it now. I can remember my doctor telling me now. And I felt numb. And maybe that was a defense mechanism. I'm sorry, it's hard to put this into words. I can remember getting the diagnosis, and then going over to my mom's shop and telling her. And she wasn't expecting me to come in. And I just looked at her. I said, I have cancer. And I just crumbled. And she is so strong. She said, it'll be okay. You'll be fine. You'll be just fine. And I mean, I kind of knew that I was going to be, like, I knew I had malignant melanoma. It was something that I kind of maybe thought was different on my body. So I was not getting regular checkups, so they didn't catch it right away. But yeah, to lose a parent and then to have the same diagnosis, same-ish, same word, just numbing, truly. Like, I really think that was a defense mechanism so that I didn't totally freak out. And I was just in a whirlwind, I mean, a busy lifestyle, sort of new marriage, full career, house literally like in shambles as we were rebuilding it. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do other than knowing that I was going to need surgery and then I was going to have downtime. Like, and how can I afford that? It was just, it rocked me later, like as it all settled in. But initially, no, it was just numb.
Do you think that, the fact that, this was a 1-2 combination, Caryn, I don't even know how to put this into context just to get that double whammy, like in your life between your dad and then you. I mean, you want to talk about a calling, a higher purpose, whatever however it is that you want to phrase it. I just think that this is life kind of smacking you in the face and saying, yo, number one, take care of yourself. But number two, this is where you need to be.
I guess so. I always thought that I was going to be in broadcasting. That was my training all through college. I have a bachelor's of science in broadcast journalism. And then I went into corporate America doing something else because I met my husband and chose something different. But I always thought at some point I was going to get back into broadcasting. I was trying to make waves back into that. So that was, to think about nutrition and food, that was never really on the radar. But to have that full circle moment to be able to go back into the cancer support community and offer information that I had just learned, I mean, you can't deny that, there's something there. So to be able to give back and help people from a place of, hey, I know what you're going through, right? I lost somebody and I was scared, but here's some information that might help you, maybe that's why I'm still there, because I'm not just somebody who comes, I'm not just teaching information. I'm not sharing information. I'm sharing it because I wish I had this information, really.
Absolutely. I know a lot of times when I'm doing these shows, I almost feel like I'm talking to version 1.0 of myself. So I feel like for you, it's very much the same thing. Different journeys, obviously, but it's the same thing. You're talking to Caryn back in the day.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And that's why, because there's a lot of people even now who don't understand the benefits of a plant-based diet. They've heard of it maybe, but they have their registered dietitians, doctors, or their healthcare team who says, it's okay. You can eat whatever you want, just as long as you're getting calories. And we've all seen the TV shows and the movies and heard about people going through treatment like chemo, and they sit there and they're getting their drip for a couple of hours. And then right before they leave, oh, here's a whole tray of cookies and candy and soda and whatever. Like, what? How is that going to nourish your body? How is that going to help anything? The only thing it offers is calories, but it's empty calories. So there's such a disconnect, even to this day, in our hospitals. And it confuses people, right? That's why we have to have this information that's readily available in layman's terms so that people can understand it and become empowered and do their own research. So that's why I do it.
So let's talk more about the nutrition aspect here. I'm curious, what blew your mind the most when you started discovering the connection between diet and cancer?
What do you mean food can reverse chronic illness? What do you mean food can shrink some tumors? What do you mean food can bring back thriving health? What? Food? What? No, that's what medications are for. Come on, please. Plants aren't going to save you. Good Lord. That's what. And when I started teaching, and then people would come into the classes, I started to get some regulars, and then people would come in and say, oh, I've lost weight, or I'm titrating down on some medications, or they'd say, oh, my doctor took me off some medications, or whatever we all hear all the time, right? I mean, it shouldn't be surprising, but it is still, right? It's both. Of course it's going to happen. Of course you're going to reverse your type 2 diabetes, or at least become more insulin sensitive. Of course you're going to lose some weight. Of course your skin is going to clear up. Of course you're going to sleep better. Of course all these things. But then when it happens, you're cheering with them the whole time, right? Like, oh my gosh, yay! It's such a wonderful feeling. And that's why I find so many people who adopt a plant-based diet, a plant-strong diet, add more plants to your plate, whatever you want to say. That's why people become so passionate about this, because they just want to spread the word. We all want everyone to be healthy and thriving and live the most they can, get the most life out of their years that they possibly can. Nobody wants to see anyone sick or bound to a lot of pills, or having to spend money on their pills instead of contributing to their 401k, or saving up for that dream house or trip or whatever. There's so many times, because my dad did walk me down the aisle. He was sick, but he did. And the one thing that really gets me is, and I say this often in social media, you want to walk your daughter down the aisle. I see so many people who are kind of in this boomer age. My mom is a boomer and my dad was, and that's really the age I'm seeing a lot of this chronic illness popping up. And I think, God, I was so lucky to have my dad walk me down the aisle. I can't imagine not having that, because he didn't eat enough plants. And I get it. I understand that it's not always going to be the case. But if you turn around your diet, if you reverse your diet and start adding more plants to your plate, little by little, you probably will see a lot of those chronic illnesses diminish. You're going to get more life out of your years. And if that means you get to walk your little girl down the aisle, or go to your son's graduation, or meet your grandchild, wow. I mean, we all have so much more control than we ever thought. And it's just by adding more plants to your plate.
All right, let's talk about some of those plants specifically. When you're in your shop and you're working with people who come in and they're like, Caryn, I want to reduce my risk for cancer. Maybe they're a cancer survivor themselves. What are some of the big ones that you tell them to gravitate toward immediately?
So we talk about the importance of fiber. And the only place you're going to find fiber is in plants. So we talk about what fiber is. It's a micronutrient. It doesn't hold any calories, but wow, it certainly can boost that immune system, get that GI tract, wake up that GI tract, wake up that microbiome, and support a good immune system, a healthy immune system. So we talk about that. And the good thing is that fiber is in every plant. So you don't have to really hone in on one, right? I try to meet people where they are. So when we talk about adding more plants to your plate, if I'm talking with somebody specifically, I'll say, listen, what do you like to eat? Do you guys do pizza every Friday night? Do you really love your burgers? Is it big comfort food, soup, stews, those kinds of things? What is it? What do you like to eat? And so we'll talk about that, and then we'll try to make a plant-based dish out of that, something familiar. Maybe it's Mexican. We can do a taco bar or a burrito bar. This has come a long way, this whole vegan diet, plant-based diet phenomenon, which really isn't. I mean, we're just really going back in time, back to the Victory Gardens and all that kind of thing. So what we're doing is we're taking out the highly processed, the ultra-processed foods, and adding in more low-processed, unprocessed foods, and making the same dish. So instead of having the big burrito with the melty cheese and the goo inside, whatever, we can do that with black beans and rice, and you can make your own. I make a great sour cream. It's just 4 ingredients, some guacamole and some red sauce on top of that, and we can make a cashew cheese. Fine. I'm not trying to make this weird for anybody. I'm trying to make it approachable. You don't have to go out and buy all kinds of crazy vegan foods. You don't have to buy the mock meats if you don't want to, or the mock cheeses. It's okay. You don't have to do that. We just want you to eat real food. That's it.
What a concept. Just eat real food. On the shows previously, we've talked a lot about antioxidants and those really going in there and attacking free radicals, to keep it in completely lay terms here. What are some of the foods that you like to use that are really chock full of those antioxidants?
Yeah, if you really want to get the biggest nutrition bang for your buck, that's going to be the cruciferous vegetables. That's going to be your broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels, cabbage, that kind of thing. And a lot of people say, well, okay, do I have to eat it raw? Do I have to eat it, can I eat it cooked? Yes. Eat it how you're going to eat it, right? And I'm going to teach people the best way to cook it if you do want it cooked. And even as STL Veg Girl here, I don't like raw broccoli. I don't like raw cauliflower. So I'm going to give it at least a light steam just so it's more palatable for me. And that's what I want people to do, is eat it how they best want to eat it. Now, will it lose a little bit? Will that cruciferous, will that broccoli or cauliflower lose a little bit of vitamin C? Yeah, that's okay. But you're adding more plants to your plate, so you're going to get a whole array of colors, a whole array of vitamins and nutrients, a whole array of foods. So the cruciferous vegetables, kale. I used to be so scared of kale. Oh my gosh, what a crazy thing. That was just something that they would put on plates as a garnish, or you'd see like big kale as ornamentation in front of Target or something. You're not going to eat that, right? Oh yes, you're going to eat it. And it's going to be so nutrient dense. But here's the thing. You don't eat it just in its super raw state. You want to really massage and get that dressing into it. Almost give it a Swedish massage. You're tenderizing that kale so that it's very palatable. Or you can give it a light steam and it'll wilt down real quickly. Chop it up, throw it into your soups and stews so you don't even think that it's there. So the dark leafy greens and the cruciferous vegetables, I really want to see in everybody's diet, on everybody's plate.
All right, but on a plant-based diet, the stereotype is it's got to be a salad, and that's all you crazy hippies eat. But that said, I love me a salad, and so when you were talking about massaging the kale and working the dressing into it, what kind of dressing do you, the chef, love to use when you've got kale in your salad?
A lot of times I am using tahini as a base. So tahini is just crushed, ground up sesame seeds. And I explain the taste to people like a boring peanut butter. That's all it tastes like. But it makes a great base for dressings. So let's say we take a little bit of tahini, the juice of 1 lemon, a garlic clove or 2, maybe you can put a pinch of salt in there, or you can use what I've been using lately is coconut aminos, or you can use Bragg's. You can use some soy sauce, whatever you want. Mix it all up into a blender, add a little bit of water to really get it going. And then you have almost a thin or a somewhat creamy dressing. Put that all over kale. Take the spine off the kale, chop up the kale real small, and really get in there. Now, if you don't want to make a dressing, or if you're a little nervous about making a dressing, find an avocado, juice up a lemon, put in a little bit of salt if you want to, and just work that into the kale. It's so delicious. And you won't believe how much water is really in kale. It'll start to brighten up because you're taking all that water out and it's just almost glistening. It's really cool.
I've had your tahini dressing with the kale. It is quite tasty. She knows of what she talks of, my friends. Guarantee you, this is just an amazing, amazing thing. And kale by itself does not have a ton of flavor to it. Is that one of those vegetables that can really take on the flavor of whatever you're adding to said salad or recipe?
You bet, because what you're doing is when you are really giving that kale that massage, is you are tenderizing it and infusing those leaves with the dressing. And it becomes so soft and you almost just want to keep eating it because it is so delicious. Every bite is so delicious. And I never thought I'd say that about kale, right? It's just a very woody, earthy, not delicious thing unless you work with it. You got to work with it.
But that's it. There are a bunch of different kinds of kale out, though. Some are a little bit more bitter than the others. Which kinds do you like to work with?
You can use the same technique with all of them. And there's a few, and they're all a little different just when you look at them. But to me, Chuck, they're all just in the raw state. No mas. No, thank you. They're all pretty bitter, woody, earthy. And I don't particularly like that flavor or texture, which is why, again, you have to work with it. And even if you don't want to work with it, just cut it up and again, throw it into a soup or a stew or something like that so that you're still getting it, but you don't have to really taste it.
I dig your authenticity, talking about, I just don't like the taste so much of kale by itself, right? Yeah. Just own it. It's kind of like a kid lying and saying that they like Brussels sprouts. What kid does? I don't know, maybe one out of a million or something like that. But you're
No.
open and you're honest, and you're not trying to sell people anything that you don't believe in yourself. What about something like a blueberry, right? That's a dark fruit. That's got a lot of antioxidants in it as well. True or false, you can pair a blueberry with the kale and get that super antioxidant punch.
Oh my gosh, yes. And by the way, we have on our website an anti-cancer, we call it an anti-cancer salad. And with this new project, the Doc and Chef YouTube series, one of our shows is on cancer, and Dr. Jim Loomis, who's the doctor, I'm the chef, we create this big anti-cancer salad. And we use the colors of the rainbow to represent the different nutrients, right? And when we got to the violet, we went for the blueberries and we added that into the salad. And of course, the salad also had green in it, kale. And it's a crazy delicious salad that really is going to help boost that immune system.
I dig it, man. It's so interesting to me that there's so much that we can do to protect ourselves just by the food that we eat. And yet that's the last thing generally that we think of. I think that people think in terms of food, the way most of us look at nutrition, Caryn, is kind of like, well, it's either going to make me overweight or it's not. And that's about the extent of nutrition. And people know that it's not healthy to be overweight. But beyond that, we don't think of it in terms of disease prevention, heart disease, in this case, cancer prevention, things like that. What do you think it's going to take to get people to open their eyes to the idea of, man, the first line of defense that you have when it comes to your health is your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, and maybe a snack and dessert every now and again as well?
I think the plant-based movement just needs better branding. I really do. I think that, listen, I come from a place of, yes, authenticity, as you said. I don't fake it. I'm not perfect. But I think that until people give it a chance and until it is branded maybe a little bit differently or maybe just more, then it won't really take hold. And here's the thing, there's no money in plants, right? Like there's no big broccoli, there's no kale council, there's no lobbyists for plants. So who wins, right? Nobody's making money. Well, not very many people are making very much money off of a plant-based diet. I'm certainly not. I'm doing it because, I want people to help themselves, right? I'm not fixing meals for people. I'm teaching them. So it's about empowering and helping other people own their, right? So until, and people have to give it a chance. Here's the thing. You can go ahead and spend $800 on a medication, right? Several medications, whatever, a month, or you can add more plants to your plate. Now, I understand that that's a very broad statement, but if we're talking about chronic illnesses where there's a lot of studies behind where plants have helped reverse said chronic illnesses, why not give it a chance, right? Why not just take a cooking class or go to YouTube for free? It's fine. And learn how to add a few more plants to your plate and see what happens. Journal it for a month and see what happens. You'll probably lose inches. You'll probably sleep better. Whatever's happening will probably begin to reverse a little bit. And that's really what, my job is done when people do start to reverse their chronic illnesses. I am not a salesperson. I don't like the hard sell. I'm here to share the information and have a good time doing it and hopefully get you eating some really delicious food. That's it. That's all I do.
And if somebody's unfortunately battling cancer right now, I wonder even if you've had people come through your shop who are in the middle of cancer treatments and have been able to maybe see some gains as they're going through that treatment. Maybe they're not experiencing as serious of a side effect as others going through something similar. Have you worked with anybody like that?
There's been a couple of people who've come into the shop where I am now, the Center for Plant-Based Living. And, it's a tricky thing because cancer it's such a big thing. There's so many different types and there's so many different types of treatments. And it really is, I gotta say, I think probably the most types of cancer that I see are prostate and breast. And there's been a lot of studying that by adding more plants to your plate. And actually, you know what? This comes to mind. There has been 2 gentlemen who have been coming to the Center for Plant-Based Living's cooking classes, and they're members actually as well. So they come through virtually and then also into the shop for classes. And they both had prostate cancer. And it's been a couple of years. And I actually had one of the gentlemen come in, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or so. And he said, Caryn, I just wanted to pop in because, this has been a long time, and I've kind of been, my PSA numbers have gone up and down. But I want you to know that for the last several months, I'm at zero. His prostate levels were down at zero. And he said, the only thing I've done is change my diet. So when I hear that, when I hear that, that's pretty, to say amazing, that doesn't even start to scratch the surface, because again, that's, of course, that's how, my dad had. How can you not do that, right? How can you not share the good word about plants when you see that it is actually really helping people? His life is back. He's not on medications anymore that he was taking. He's not worried about it anymore, or worried so much that he used to be. He's adding more plants to his plate, and his prostate levels came down. There's been 2 gentlemen in this who come in often, and their prostate levels have dropped significantly because the only thing they've done is add more plants to their plate. Fully plant-based, by the way. Fully whole food, plant-based, no oil. Just to clarify.
Yeah, I love stories like that so much. And I can only imagine what that's like for you emotionally, given, again, what your own father went through, And so maybe it's almost like you're not just talking to Caryn 1.0, but you're talking to your dad back in the day as well.
Yeah, I did have there was some time where when I started to realize or learn about the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet hopefully for PSA, or to lower your PSA and to reverse prostate cancer. And of course, it doesn't happen every time. There's no absolutes. Like, will plants 100% help you, prevent cancer? No. it's not a complete magic bullet, but, let's arm yourself the best you can. And, but yeah, I think that was also something else. When I hear that information from these 2 gentlemen that they no longer have prostate cancer, it's hard to hear. I'm so thankful, please, but it's hard to hear because it's almost like, why didn't I know that back in 2008 or 2005 or whenever my dad was diagnosed? Why didn't I know that? Why couldn't I have helped my dad? But again, maybe that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't know.
I think it probably is. And, if you're a woman of faith, I think it would be easy to say that he's pretty proud of you for the path that you've chosen and helping others. And it's pretty incredible. And doing it at the shop and now with Doc and Chef. And I know that your heart is in it for all of the right reasons, because as you said, you're not here getting rich doing this stuff.
Nope.
You're just here making other people's lives richer and healthier. And that is the most noble of reasons. So Caryn Dugan, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story, and I wish you nothing but the best in the future.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you got value out of this video, please like it, subscribe, and hit the notification button to see our next show.